Greetings and welcome back to Shadowworks Media. I'm your host, James Fondren. And if you're the first-time viewer or watcher of the channel, please visit my website, shadowworksmedia.com, where I host additional content, primarily my serialized release of my first science fiction novel that I'm doing as a kind of an indie publishing project. It's called The Egress. Check it out. It's a science fiction novel, and I hope that you enjoy the serialized release of that book. That's on my website, shadowworksmedia.com. But also, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel, like the videos, help out with the YouTube algorithm. My channel is pretty small, so I don't really get a whole lot of exposure, but I'm hoping to change that and continue to move forward with content creation, because it's what I'm really all about. I really love creating new content to put on YouTube, to put on my channel, to put on the website. So please check those things out. Also, you can visit and see some images that I use to supplement my weekly serialized release of each chapter. Right now we're on I believe chapter 12 is going to be released this week. And in addition to that, if you go to the website, you'll see that there are Midjourney images that I put in prompts to kind of say, okay, here's the narrative of what I want, and then Midjourney delivers a product, and then I use that to supplement the text. So that's on each chapter. You have to go to like kind of the blog section of the website called The Egress, and you'll be able to start from chapter 1 and move forward. There's going to be a total of 23 chapters for this novel, and then I'll begin writing the second book that I already have outlined and ready to go, and I'm excited. I am ready to start writing the second book once I do that. So if you want to check out those, my Midjourney renderings themselves, I do an eclectic variety of renderings through the Midjourney platform. You can go to Shadowworks Media Gallery on Instagram. That's my profile page, is Shadowworks Media Gallery on Instagram. So with that being said, I just want to get into today's topic of discussion, which is, the title of this book is The Art of Truth. But what is truth and what is art? I think you have to be around people who are truly excellent. If in anything you want to achieve or learn, excellence is key, and excellence is habit. So you want to be around people who practice their art, whatever it is. Now, interestingly enough, I'm also, in addition to just doing my own, independent self-publishing journey where I have these stories, they come into my head and I imagine things. Recently, I just had a really huge breakthrough, but sometimes it's 2 step forward, 2 step back. We'll get into that too. But I'm also a martial artist, and I've been practicing the traditional Japanese martial art of Aikido for almost 10 years now. And well, actually a little bit over 10 years. Off and on with the pandemic, we were off the mat for about a year and a half. And then, you have life situations. Maybe there were work situations where I was pulled away for a prolonged period of time, maybe a month, and I wasn't able to step on the mat. But what you start to find is, you learn the basics and fundamentals of of an art form, and then you start to get into the creative side of it and really aligning yourself with the truth of that matter. So for example, I'll give you the perfect example with Aikido. I can't just imagine an outcome in my head and it happens. It has to be felt. It has to be understood. You have to see the world the way it really is when it comes to the laws of gravity, the physical makeup of human beings, the anatomy, how your joints and how your limbs move in accordance with your balance. It's very complex. It takes years and years to learn the martial art. In most martial arts, it takes years to become proficient in them, but there are people that are way beyond anything that I'll ever achieve in that martial art. It's just a fact, and that's okay, but you want to learn from those people. You want to learn from the very best, right? So I'm seeing cross similarities across art is art, whether it's the martial arts, whether it's writing, painting, anything creative that you do, if it's an art form. Recently I started drawing again. Now, incidentally, I haven't drawn in years. And when I used to draw, my drawing started when I was a kid, and basically I was sent away to school. I went to boarding school, and after we had study hall every night, right? And after everyone finished their homework, what did they do? They would draw. So what did typically this was in the late 90s, 1998, 1999, and I was 11, 12 years old, right? No, I was 12, 13 years old. 13. I think I was 13, 14, right? So anyway, that age, what are boys into? It was an all boys school. We were into comic books. We were into Wizard magazine. We were into these things where you have just here's the who's who. This is what's happening in the comics world. I was a big comic book fan. Still kind of am. It's a really wonderful medium, and just I always had a dream of drawing my own. And what did I do? It was kind of like using not photo references, but drawing references. Whoever's art you really liked or dug, you would say, okay, I want to try to draw just like this person. And you're kind of just emulating it. You're copying it in a way, and you're not even tracing it, because we didn't. Oh, don't trace. But I say tracing, but I am going to start tracing, because there's a couple things I've fallen behind in. Number one is perspective, drawing in perspective, understanding the horizon line and your vanishing points, whether it's 1 point perspective, 2 point perspective, 3 point perspective, or proportions, faces, hands. I've got a whole lot to work on, and some people might look at that and say, well, why even bother? But I want to do it. I'm going to add it into my quiver of things to create media and content. Am I ready to show anybody yet? Absolutely not. But I would love to do some comic book style panels of my novel. And maybe one day, maybe, I don't know, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, sometime when I'm ready, where I'm drawing my own stuff, I'm inking my own stuff, and it's done right, and it's done to a level or a quality level that I would be comfortable presenting to the world, then I would do that. So I'll probably write 2 more books before that ever happens, but it's something I want to do. I want to add it into the media collection of what the stories are, and maybe other stories as well. But back to what I was saying, and that is, you have to find the truth of something. And drawing is a great example, because I recently started looking at videos on YouTube of comic book artists who are, we're talking pros, comic book artists, pros and professionals that have been in the industry for 30 years, right? And some of these guys are really, really talented and excellent, but they practice, they draw every day. They've been drawing every day for decades. So what's great is some people, you want to find people who will break it down to you. It's like, okay, you have to get your perspective grid in, right? You have to draw in perspective, get your grid going, and then make sure everything's in relation, because you don't want to imagine something. Because if you imagine it and you try to put it in the frame, try to put it in a panel of some kind, it's just a mess, right? And it's not in perspective. So, but these guys are so good that, it's like, where's my vanishing point? And then they know the lines, they're invisible, but they draw it in perspective anyway. That's going to take me years to do that, but it's okay. I'm just enjoying doing a simple 1 point perspective, and maybe I'll show something in the future of some of my stuff where I'm getting the relationship of where your main point of focus is, whether it's a person or an object, and the corresponding things in the background, and making sure that it's at the right eye line. And if the person that I'm drawing, the horizon line is right in the middle of their face, that the corresponding people in the background relate to the foreground, and they're also their head is also on the horizon line too. So just simple stuff like that, and getting proficient in that, and saying, hey, I understand this. It's kind of like math a little bit, right? But not really. But you have to practice. Just like in martial arts, I've had to practice for years to get to the point to where I am now, where I'm just starting to really enjoy it. And yeah, I'll have slip-ups every once in a while where it's like, okay, I'm having sort of like a brain fart, if you will, and I'm there on the mat and I'm practicing with somebody. It's like, well, wait, if I move this way, I do this, what am I doing wrong? Oh, okay, and then I correct it, and I'm able to overcome that within maybe a minute or a couple of tries, or if someone explains it a certain way. So if you want to draw or you want to get involved in anything, find somebody who you can relate to, who can explain things to you that makes sense to you. because there's so much out there. I think the difference is back in like 1998, 1999, there was no YouTube. Like whoever was in your periphery, that's what you had access to. And whatever their talent level was, that's what you were going to get. So like getting Wizard Magazine, getting comic books in the mail, seeing these things, that was the best you could do. And I just put the pencil down for like years and I never drew anymore. So I'm changing that. I've got the right stuff. I've got the right supplies. But really what happened was I saw a video where it was recommended, this is what you need. These are the best supplies. You know, this is the right pencil. This is the right lead to use. This is the right paper to draw comic book panels on. It's like, well, I'm not even ready to do that. Like, I'm not even going to touch that paper. I'm just drawing on like printer paper now. I'm using the good pencil because I want to get familiar with it and get comfortable with it, using it. It's habitual, but I'm gonna, I could even draw on like a notebook paper at this point, but I'm not gonna do that. I'll draw on white 8.5 by 11 print paper, right? Copy paper. So that's where I'm at now, and that's okay. And if that's where you are right now, and anything that you're doing, whether it's drawing or writing, that's okay. Recently, you may notice some changes. Let me get back to writing, but that's what I want to talk about. It hit me because when I watched a couple of tutorial videos, and the way somebody I was watching, it was explaining drawing in perspective or drawing in proportion, or anything, any skill that's necessary for drawing, right? It's like, well, this person is like a real master. Like this person, they're like a 5th, 6th degree black belt in comic book art or just art in general. So I thought, okay, I see the similarities. They are aligning themselves with the truth. The truth is not what you imagine it to be. It has to be in alignment with what is and what you see on the page. If I have that perspective, right? And those people aren't in position where they're supposed to be on the page. You see it's phony. You see it's not the reality. It's not what you would see if you walked outside, which is what you're trying to do. You want to sell that image. You want to sell that picture to somebody and get them to buy into that story and be invested into it. That's why I have such deep respect for artists in general, because they have to create something from nothing oftentimes. Yeah, you can do photo references. You can reference your own hand if you need to draw a hand. And I'm definitely going to be doing that. I'm trying to practice a little bit every day, but like I have so much respect. So that's where I see like the cross similarities between any kind of art, whether it's the martial arts, which I've practiced for a few years now, and now I'm getting back into drawing, and that the real masters, they explain things the same way and it clicks, and it's like, wow, this is, but you have to practice something. Like it's hard to jump into that and recognize, hey, this person knows what they're talking about. This is really good. Like, and understand why it's good. Not just understand. You can just do it by rote and do what they tell you to do, but like understanding it and then doing it and practicing it over and over and over again until you get it. That's key. And that's how it's been for me in my martial arts practice. I should probably do some of that in my writing. The only thing is I find that when you watch videos on writing, it gets kind of subjective, and I don't want my vision tainted, and I don't want my particular style and how I'm telling a story in a narrative form tainted. So with that being said, one last thing I want to talk about was you may notice some changes on the blog section of the Egress. I was recently, something caught my attention where I needed to think. I thought about this. I said, well, am I going to have any issues with any character names that I have in my story? I mean, even if it's totally by accident, I don't want to have character names that are the same name as something else that's not ubiquitous with a particular idea or product. Idea I don't mind so much, but if it's like a name to something, like either a character itself, an actual character, or something that's just like I'll give you the example. Okay, so one of my characters, actually the main antagonist of my story, the name I gave that character happened to be, and this is something I created before I realized there was something else with the same name out there, and I was like, oh man, I got to change this. So my advice on coming to a conclusion on that more quickly is don't try to be too too much out of the box and think, oh, I'm going to do something that no one else has ever done, because you know what? That just doesn't exist, right? But you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to find something to replace that old name with. And so it's like, well, thematically, what do I want this to be? Don't mince words. Just come out, write out and say it. Make it clear to the reader who this person is and what they're about. And that's what I did. So I changed it, right? So you may notice some changes on the website you may have seen a previous name of a character. It has a new name now. And I think that's going to be better in the long run, because it has more of a deeper meaning for people on a subconscious, unconscious level. It's been around since ancient Greece. It's a term for a specific role in society that the Greeks were very familiar with, that, you know, in certain circles people will know as well. So I'm looking forward to people seeing that. Oh yeah, of course it would be named what I'm talking about. So, but I'll let you read it. You'll know what I'm talking about. It's very ubiquitous. You'll know exactly what it means. Most people will anyway. So I just wanted to say that sometimes you got to pivot and make changes, and that's kind of pushed some things back. And I wanted to make a video, but I haven't had time. So I wanted to put this video out, and hopefully it'll be published and on YouTube soon. But thank you if you hung around this long. I know it's a lot of talking, but I wanted to give everybody an update on where I'm at. Like I said, we're about to release chapter 12, but it may be delayed a little bit this week. Normally I get it either between Monday and Wednesdays. I don't have any consistency to a specific day, but I do these serialized releases weekly. So it may be later this week after Wednesday. I'm not sure. If it comes before, look out for chapter 12. We'll be going live on the website. But also one last thing is, calling all beta readers, right? I need some kind of feedback on my writing, and I'm kind of operating in a silo here. And if people want to read my stuff, there's two things we can do. There's two ways we can do this. It might be easier, and I've gotten feedback on how it's presented to people. Some people don't want it serialized and released, and they want it the whole thing. They want to read the whole thing and then come back. That's more of a passive, like, I'm just going to consume this, rather than a feedback thing where I need people who are actual beta readers who can give me some constructive criticism and feedback. Even if it's brutally honest, I accept your criticism, okay? Because I want to make the story better. I want the writing to be better. So I do need that. So if there are people who are watching this video and that happens, what we can do is this. Either let me know if you're interested in doing this, if you're interested in doing this for each chapter, or if you want the whole thing. We're on chapter 12 right now. I might do a video later on towards the end of the year. I think we're going to get all these chapters in before the end of the year. So maybe by December, what I'll do is I'll have a PDF document prepared that will be the entire book. I'll give people a link there where they can download it on the website. And then my email address is jamesfondren@shadowworksmedia.com. So if you want to email me directly to give me some feedback, or if you have any questions, or you just want to connect with me in any way, you can reach me directly there. That's where I'll put something on the website. I'll start plugging this more once we get closer. But if anybody's interested in feedback now, and the first 12 chapters are going to be on the website, you can reach me at jamesfondren@shadowworksmedia.com. So this is a longer, more extended format and video. I had a lot of things, kind of a philosophical notion that I wanted to go over about the art of truth, where it's similar across multiple platforms of art and artistic expression. So I hope you enjoyed that, and it was kind of a revelation to me when I stepped back into something I used to really enjoy as a kid, which was drawing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Again, it's going to help us with the YouTube algorithm, and I'll catch you right here next time at Shadowworks Media. And remember to always follow your passion.